I'm a 34-year-old man, and I've been married to my wife for 2 years. We've been together for about 5 years in total. Lately, things have been tough for us financially, and I've had to take on extra shifts at work to make ends meet. As a result, I haven't been able to spend as much time with my wife as I used to. And now I can't shake the feeling that she might be cheating on me. One thing that's been bothering me is her sudden change in style. She started dressing differently and pays a lot more attention to her appearance, even for mundane tasks like grocery shopping. We've always been low-maintenance people, so this change is raising some suspicion. I've talked to some friends about it, and they suggested that her change in appearance could be related to the fact that she recently had surgery. She had to remove a tumor from her breast, and our insurance only covered part of the costs. We're now struggling with the expenses, especially since she's on unpaid sick leave, making us heavily reliant on my income. I've been working extra to support us, but she's now back at work, so I reduced my hours to spend more time with her. Despite my efforts to be there for her, she seems to avoid spending time with me. Every time I enter a room where she is, she finds an excuse to leave. She's even started sleeping on the couch because she claims my snoring disturbs her sleep. While I do snore heavily, it's never been a significant issue in our relationship. When we first started dating, she used to want to be with me all the time. She would text me throughout the day, sharing everything she was doing. We didn't have much of a social life, so I tried to include her in everything I did. This drastic change in her behavior has left me feeling confused and concerned about the state of our relationship. When we first moved in together, we had a strong routine of sharing everything that happened while we were apart. I cherished this routine because it made me feel connected to her, and she couldn't keep her hands off me. She was always affectionate, constantly wanting to touch and kiss me. It was something I found endearing, even though I wasn't naturally a very physical person. However, for about 2 months now, everything has changed. She no longer shares things with me, and the physical affection has disappeared. She doesn't even seem excited when I come home anymore. There are times when I feel like she doesn't even acknowledge my presence. Initially, I thought her behavior might be due to the aftereffects of her surgery and being cooped up at home. But even after she returned to work, things didn't improve. She started coming home late, which was unusual because she used to prefer coming home first if she planned to hang out with coworkers or attend a meeting. What alarmed me even more was the fact that she didn't bother to notify me when she'd be late. My suspicions escalated when she told me she was going to hang out with her coworkers after work one evening. It was surprising because she had never mentioned this before. As the evening grew later and I received no response to my texts and calls, I became genuinely worried. I decided to take action and went to the bar where they were supposed to meet, only to find her car in the parking lot, but no sign of her inside. This situation has left me deeply concerned and confused, and I'm not sure how to proceed. Discovering my wife at the bar with another man was an overwhelming shock. After hours of worrying and searching for her, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. She seemed completely engrossed in conversation with the man, oblivious to my presence. It was clear that her initial surprise at seeing me was driven by guilt. In the heat of the moment, I knew it wasn't the right time to confront her. I've had a history of violent outbursts, and I didn't want to let anger get the best of me. Instead, I made a quick decision to leave the scene and drove to my brother's place. Throughout the weekend, doubts consumed me. I spent a lot of time watching the house through security cameras, expecting her to leave or receive a visitor, but it didn't happen. She didn't leave the house, and no one came to visit except for the mailman. It left me wondering if there was a logical explanation for her behavior, or if my suspicions were indeed warranted. I considered the fact that she hadn't taken advantage of my absence to go out with someone else as a potential sign of her innocence. But deep down, I knew that this alone wasn't enough to fully assure me of her innocence. My mind kept racing with other possibilities. Maybe she didn't know when I would be back and didn't want to risk getting caught in the act. Or perhaps her lover was out of town, making it impossible for them to meet during my absence. These thoughts continued to torment me. The next day, after she had left for work, I returned home and tried to gather my thoughts. I knew it was essential to address the situation head-on. When she got back from work, she did something she hadn't done in a while. She made dinner for both of us. It was a seemingly sweet gesture, but it didn't erase the doubts I had. As we finished eating, I knew it was time to talk. I asked her to explain what had happened on that Friday night that had caused me so much worry. Her response was that she had decided to stay for more drinks and accidentally put her phone on silent, which prevented her from responding to my calls and messages. I couldn't help but feel skeptical about her explanation because I had physically checked the bar, and she wasn't there. It was during this conversation that she broke down crying. She confessed that she had been feeling down and had run into an old friend at the bar. When her coworkers had left, she and this friend had gone on a long drive and just talked. She admitted to being slightly drunk, and her friend had insisted on driving her around until she became more sober. I accepted her explanation at the time, but as I replayed the events in my mind, doubts continued to plague me. One detail that bothered me was that she didn't seem remotely drunk when I saw her, even though she claimed to have been tipsy. I knew from experience that it would take quite a bit of alcohol for her to get drunk, and it didn't add up. The following day, after I returned from work, I couldn't shake these lingering doubts. I decided to have a more direct conversation with her. I asked her how many drinks she had consumed on that Friday night to get to the point of being drunk. Her response was that she didn't remember. It was at this point that I made up my mind not to let her make me feel bad about my suspicions. I decided to confront her outright and asked if she was cheating on me. She vehemently denied it and reassured me that she could never cheat on me. I wanted to believe her, so I chose to trust her words and let things be. However, the issues in our relationship have persisted. She still returns home late without informing me of her whereabouts, goes out frequently without sharing her plans, and we've had no intimacy for weeks. Our lack of physical closeness is particularly painful considering how intimate we used to be. Given the ongoing problems, I've been seriously considering suggesting couples therapy as a way for us to work through our issues and hopefully find a resolution together. Engaging the services of a private investigator was a significant decision, and the cost involved made me hopeful that it would bring some much-needed clarity to the situation. The thought of uncovering the truth was both nerve-wracking and reassuring. I needed to know what was really happening, and I was ready to invest, not just financially but emotionally as well, to get to the bottom of things. Over the past week, the private investigator diligently followed her, providing me with regular reports. Surprisingly, her behavior seemed to be more innocent than I had initially thought. She never left work early, and when she did go out with her coworkers, she returned home promptly. It was a relief to hear these reports, and it began to ease my concerns. However, there was still one aspect of her behavior that struck me as odd. She consistently left her gatherings with coworkers only after everyone else had gone, and she appeared to consume a significant number of drinks, almost to the point of getting drunk. After a prolonged bathroom break, she would settle the tab and leave. While this didn't necessarily indicate infidelity, it raised questions about her actions and intentions. In light of the information I received from the investigator, I started to doubt whether she was actually cheating on me. I considered ending the investigation mainly because the financial strain it placed on me was becoming too much to bear. It seemed like a good time to shift my focus towards repairing our relationship. With the decision to halt the investigation, I made up my mind to suggest couples therapy. I needed to confront the issues we were facing and attempt to salvage our relationship. I realized that I had been wrong in my assumptions and wanted to give us a chance to rebuild our trust. When I approached her with the idea of therapy, she was initially reluctant. However, I poured my heart out to her, expressing how my trust had been eroded by her actions and how much I loved her. I emphasized that I didn't want her to push me away, and it was crucial for us to work through our problems together. During our therapy sessions, she accused me of not tending to her needs the way I used to, especially after her surgery. Her concerns were valid, and I recognized that I needed to make amends and show her the love and care she deserved. We embarked on a journey of self-improvement and mutual understanding, hoping that we could rebuild the bond that had been shaken by mistrust and doubt. The next morning, I noticed her unusual reaction to a notification on her phone, and it intensified my suspicions. Normally, she would promptly check any notification, but this time, she casually swiped it away. It was a stark deviation from her usual behavior, and it left me feeling uneasy. However, I was torn. I didn't want to rush into unwarranted accusations or provoke a heated argument. Instead, I decided to pretend I hadn't noticed anything out of the ordinary, even though my mind was racing with questions and doubts. Throughout that day, my thoughts were consumed by what I should do next. The discovery of those explicit messages had reopened old wounds and reignited my concerns about her fidelity. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss in our relationship, and I needed to find a way to address it without triggering a confrontation. That night, while we were preparing for bed, I seized an opportunity. I asked her to make me a smoothie since she was heading to the kitchen anyway. In her haste to fulfill my request, she left her phone unattended. Initially, I had intended to respect her privacy, but curiosity got the better of me. I ended up taking her phone, feeling compelled to uncover the truth that had been eluding me for far too long. I started by scrolling through her text messages, hoping to find some reassurance that my suspicions were unfounded. However, I didn't find anything particularly suspicious there. It was when I ventured into her other apps, specifically her Instagram, that I stumbled upon the shocking revelation. Her Instagram account seemed to be a hub for communication with this other person, and the direct messages contained explicit pictures and messages that left no room for misinterpretation. The person she had been communicating with had made his intentions painfully clear, and my heart sank as I realized the extent of her infidelity. Discovering those explicit messages in her DMs was like a punch in the gut. It was a gut-wrenching confirmation of my worst fears. The guy on the other end was expressing graphic desires and intentions, and she was responding in kind. They talked about doing things together that she had always told me she could never try in bed. It was as if a floodgate of betrayal had opened, and I couldn't believe what I was reading. One message, in particular, cut deep. She had mentioned how much she loved him, how she wanted his attention all to herself, and how she eagerly offered to do things for him that she rarely, if ever, offered to do for me. It was a devastating blow to my self-esteem and a painful reminder of the emotional and physical distance that had grown between us. What hurt the most was the comparison. The guy she was talking to had a similar physical attribute to mine, but he seemed to possess something she claimed I had in excess. It was a crushing blow to my confidence, and I couldn't help but feel inadequate. All of this was made even more painful by the fact that we were still dealing with the financial aftermath of her surgery, which I had supported both emotionally and financially. I had made significant sacrifices, including giving up a promising opportunity just to be closer to her family. The sense of betrayal was overwhelming, and it felt like everything I had believed in and worked for in our relationship had crumbled before my eyes. It's become evident to me that the guy my wife has been seeing is her coworker. It's clear from their messages that they both make references to their workplace. What's worse, he doesn't seem to know that she's married because he keeps calling her by affectionate names and has never once mentioned that she's in a relationship. I checked her other social media apps and found out that it's the same guy she's been involved with all along. They've been having a sexual relationship since 6 weeks after her surgery. She's never allowed him to come to our house, but she frequently goes over to his place. The night I got worried about her and those mysterious bathroom breaks, she was with him. I can't help but wonder if those breaks were actually moments of intimacy between them. They even took it up a notch by having sex in a park outside. My wife claimed she didn't want anyone at work to know about their relationship, but I knew it was because everyone there knew she was married to me. I felt both pity and anger towards the guy involved, and for the first time since I've known my wife, I felt a deep hatred for her. It made me question myself, thinking I was the problem, and had been trying to fix things without realizing I was innocent in all of this. I couldn't allow her to play me for a fool any longer. After I was done going through her phone, I placed it back where she had kept it and decided to take a shower. When she eventually returned with my smoothie, I couldn't bring myself to accept it. That night, as we slept, she clung to me in her sleep. In the past, I would have been overjoyed by this, but now it just felt suffocating. I couldn't stand it any longer, so I quietly left her sleeping there and went to sleep on the couch. It struck me that she had done the same thing in the past, leaving me alone in the bedroom, unable to sleep on that couch. I spent the rest of the night on the bare floor, staring at nothing. As soon as morning came, I left the house. I needed a change, so I bought a new couch. When my wife asked if everything was fine, I just told her it was, making up the excuse that I had returned from work late and didn't want to disturb her sleep. She didn't say anything, and we carried on with our routine. She texted me at work one day to let me know she'd be coming home late, and I replied with a simple, "It's fine." I knew she was going to be with her affair partner, and each time it happened it broke my heart all over again. She had lied to me repeatedly, and I reached the decision that divorce wouldn't be enough. I needed to make her pay for her deceit and infidelity. After some research, I discovered why she had chosen her coworker. It turned out that the affair partner was the heir to a majority of the shares of the company she worked for. She had pursued him for his wealth, nothing more and nothing less. Her birthday was approaching, and I recalled their promise to meet in her office for her gift, which I was pretty sure was just another rendezvous. This gave me an idea for a way to make her pay for her actions, and the best part was that I wouldn't even be present. I went to my in-laws and convinced them to help me plan a surprise birthday celebration for her at her workplace. The plan was to visit her during her break, drop off food and cake, and then leave without disrupting the workplace. Her office was generally lenient about such things as long as they didn't disturb others, and I intended to use that against her. Her parents agreed to my plan, and everything was set for her birthday. I didn't wish her a happy birthday. She probably thought I was planning something, and she was right, but it wasn't what she had in mind. When it was noon on the day of her birthday, I called my father-in-law and regretfully told him that I wouldn't be able to make it to the party because something urgent had come up at my workplace. I urged him to proceed with the plan. I knew she would be in the office. I told him to head straight down to the warehouse because she had informed me that she would be doing some inventory work there. They reached the office in the evening and found themselves in a situation that took them completely by shock. I wasn't present when it all happened, but the news of what transpired spread through our small town like wildfire, and I ended up hearing every sort of detail. Her parents and sister had apparently rushed to a warehouse only to find her completely naked, engaged in an intimate encounter with another man. The scene was chaotic from what I heard. Her mother had even slapped her while she was still in that compromising position and had started reprimanding her right there on the spot. The guy, still partially dressed, had made a hasty escape while trying to get his clothes on. Her sister and father left the scene without her, leaving her exposed and humiliated. It must have caused quite a commotion, especially considering it happened in their workplace that night. When she finally got home, I was waiting for her. She seemed like she had something heavy on her mind, something she needed to confess. She admitted that she had been cheating on me for a while and expressed her remorse. She said it was because she had grown bored while waiting for surgery and had somehow ended up talking to this other guy. Surprisingly, I told her that I already knew about it. She was taken aback and began to beg and plead, saying she never intended for things to go as far as they did. I chose to believe her, wiped away her tears, and she kissed me. One thing led to another, and she initiated intimacy. I went along with it even though it was meant to be the last one for the road. During that encounter, we tried out everything I had ever wanted to explore before, and she was more than willing to indulge me. However, I found it challenging to stay fully engaged, knowing that she had been with another man just hours before me. But I needed her to believe that things were okay. Afterward, She fell asleep, and I decided to complete a project I had been working on, packing up everything that belonged to her and getting it out of my house. I drove over to her parents' house and unloaded everything there before returning home. On the kitchen table, I left the divorce papers and a note, not expecting her to still be around when I got back that evening. It felt like the only way to seek some form of payback for the pain I had endured. Since then, she has been trying to reach out to me, but I took the step of getting a restraining order against her. As I sorted through the aftermath of that tumultuous night, her sister informed me that she had been suspended from her workplace due to the incident in the warehouse. It seemed like her actions had consequences, even if her partner managed to evade any repercussions due to his position. Yet, to my surprise, I later heard that even he wanted nothing more to do with her. I couldn't help but count the days until the divorce would be finalized, eagerly awaiting the moment when I could sever ties with her and move forward with my life. As time passed and the divorce proceedings continued, I began to focus more on healing and rebuilding my life. I realized that dwelling on the past and seeking revenge wouldn't bring me the peace and happiness I desired. Instead, I chose to prioritize my own well-being and personal growth. I started attending therapy sessions to help me process the emotions and scars left by the infidelity and the subsequent breakup. Through therapy, I gained valuable insights into myself and my past relationship, learning to let go of the bitterness and anger that had consumed me. Slowly but surely, life began to take a turn for the better. I reconnected with old friends and pursued new hobbies that brought me joy and fulfillment. The support of my loved ones played a crucial role in my recovery, reminding me that I was not alone in this journey. As the divorce was finally finalized, I felt a sense of closure that allowed me to move forward with a newfound sense of hope and optimism. I knew that I deserved a happier and healthier future, free from the weight of the past. In time, I found love again, this time with someone who truly valued and respected me. Together, we built a strong and loving relationship based on trust and mutual understanding. The painful chapter of my life had come to a close, and I was grateful for the lessons it had taught me. The past was behind me, and the future held the promise of happiness, growth, and a fresh start. Dear listener, if you have reached this far, please consider subscribing to our channel, as it helps and motivates us to continue our work. As I reflect on my journey, I understand the importance of self-love and the resilience of the human spirit. While the pain of betrayal and heartbreak was undeniable, it was through facing those challenges that I discovered my own strength and capacity for growth. Life is a continuous journey of learning and evolving, and with each experience, we have the opportunity to emerge stronger and wiser. If you find yourself facing difficulties in your own life, whether it be in matters of love, relationships, or personal challenges, I encourage you to seek support and prioritize your mental and emotional well-being. It's never easy to navigate the complexities of the heart, but with time, patience, and self-reflection, healing is possible. May you find the strength to overcome your own challenges and embrace the opportunities for growth and happiness that lie ahead. Remember, you are not alone, and there is always hope for a brighter tomorrow. Thank you for being a part of this journey.